a good Monday. Got out deer hunting, got that done. Got to watch the Vikings game. Sucks. I mean, just saying. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. It's, yeah. What did Chevy Chase? How do you, losing? It's not good.
Defensively, about 4 defensive guys they could have used. They were without, a couple of COVID protocol issues going on. Garrett Bradbury, the center, and Harrison Smith was through that. So you're minus those guys, and then, you had Delvin Cook had that Delvin Cook had his issues that were off the field that he had to deal with and the Vikings had to respond to. So that's, that's distraction from a football standpoint. So they would have had some reasons, Joel, not to go into L.A. and perform well, but they did the opposite.
I would also add this, that the reason that players don't want to give up their spot even for a week when it's questionable is because every now and then a player comes up and steps in and you start going, should they be the starter? And I'm a big Harrison Smith fan, right? But I tell you what, this guy, this free safety that's not Harrison, the free safety that's come in now, it's like he's doing okay.
Yeah, they've got some young talent in the secondary for sure. Where'd I put my cell phone, Joel?
I don't know. I don't know. Hey, wait, you want to use mine? I got mine. It's my sister Holly's birthday today.
Oh, is it really? That's right, because the Heitkamps were all born between October, November, December. Right?
I think we're all Scorpios except for Melanie, and nobody liked her.
See, you Scorpios band together. I'm a Scorpio.
Are you? So am I.
Yeah.
Yes.
Scorpios band together. Well, the Vikings utilized...
Cousins under center. Kate J in motion to the right. Dalvin the single set. Kirk on a 7-step drop. Passes to the center. And it's caught. Touchdown! Tyler Conklin.
How do you like your Tyler Conklins, Joel?
That was one of the ugliest touchdown plays I've ever seen in my life. Did you see it, Bones?
I caught a couple. I caught the one where Cousins threw one right through the xiphoid process of Conklin.
You could have got 3 shots off on that. If that had been a duck coming into the hole, it was like fluttering around.
I
like,
must
boom,
be referencing the other
boom.
one because I saw one where Cousins just threw a bullet into Conklin.
Yep. I don't know which one this is, but I know this. The one in the back of the end zone was...
That might have been more of a flutter.
It was a flutter. It was definitely a flutter. It would be fair.
Well, I'll tell you, so the Vikings, whose 5 losses this season have been by a combined 18 points. It's nice to get a win, and for Kirk Cousins, it was nice to, let's let Kirk tell you.
I don't sleep well for several days after a loss, and, football is so much more fun when you're winning. And so, this week will be, you'll have that wind at your back a little bit more, but we got to start stringing something together,
This week, the Vikings take on...
Rodgers gets motion from Adams to the left. Rodgers handoff, Dillon powering to the goal line, to the end zone, for the dagger! Yes! Touchdown!
There's your dagger, Joel. That's what you don't want to hear me play next week.
Next week, yes. I have tickets to that game, and I'm debating whether to go or whether to sell. What's your advice?
Well, let's see. Are you in the market of capitalistic gains?
I don't know if it can be gained. Maybe since they both won, those tickets are hotter. Certainly what they would have been 2 weeks ago.
Packer fans will tell you
yes,
that, this isn't the world. This game isn't as big. This is this. It's another game. It's an NFC. That's what the Packer fans will probably say. And then technically, I guess they are probably correct.
Right. To them.
to them. Viking fans will tell you this is a big game.
This might mean the whole, the only thing we have to hang our hat on. Last year, one of the 3 losses that the Packers had going into the playoffs was, in fact, to the Vikings. And the Vikings didn't have a good year, but at least every cousin I have that's a Packer fan, I got to look at and say, yeah, we beat you.
How ironic that statement you just said. Every cousin you have is a Packer cousins.
I have a sister that's a Packer fan.
Quarterback of the Vikings is cousins.
I'm an owner.
Yeah.
I am an owner, and I sent in my proxy for this week to just have Aaron Rodgers take the week off. Take another week off.
There you go.
Take another week off.
Yeah, Rodgers came back. It wasn't sexy. He did enough. The defense strong. They shut out Seattle. That should be the concerning issue right here for the Vikings. Green Bay. I think Russell Wilson, the first time he's ever been shut out, Joel. It's the first time he's ever in his career, I think.
And that game was in Green Bay, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Did I hear him?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it is.
Yep.
That's
that.
I saw
some highlights of Lambeau leaps.
Give me, if you had to make a list of games, whether they sports or board games or card games or whatever, give me a list of games that are okay to end in a tie, or games that shouldn't end in a tie. Sports or games that end. Tic-tac-toe would be an obvious choice for games that it could end in a tie.
Yes.
You crap out. You're just done playing. That would be one that could end in a tie.
Yes.
Football probably shouldn't end in a tie.
Slapjack with your grandkids.
Slapjack. Slapjack again is what?
The slapjack is when you flip the card over, and if it happens to be a jack, you're the first one to hit it. Right. How'd that sound, Ab?
That was a good slapjack.
That was a good slapjack. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I never knew how the game ended.
Yeah. Soccer,
I truly don't. I mean, it just goes on and on.
Soccer or football is not uncommon, and we live with the tie. We're okay with that.
I yes, kind of.
That what? Soccer. Yeah. Oh, when was that?
Football can too.
Oh. Welcome to the world of ties. Abby. I'm on Abby's life for 9 days. I love it.
Do you really believe, though, guys, that when you look at it, that football should never allowed to be?
I just don't. It doesn't smell right. The Lions and Steelers tied at 16 yesterday.
Yeah.
So technically the Lions' losing streak is over, but they're still winless.
Right. I mean, in football, I always like the college way of overtime better than the professional way of overtime. I just think it's cleaner, it's better. We've already taken away the kickoff anyway. And so just line them up at the 25, give them 2 opportunities for a first down.
I guess there are those really good golfers out there that go out and don't keep score. That's not where I land, Joel. I don't care what my score is, but I want to score it.
Exactly.
I want something to take home.
Yep.
And on a sheet of paper, it says here I shot a 104. At least I had something.
Football game should never end at a tie.
Right. I want a winner.
Ever.
I want a winner and a loser. Yeah. Could you imagine? Remember when the Major League Baseball All-Star game, they called it a tie? Yeah. And the fans just went berserk. Another sport that obviously should never end in a tie. And they learned their lesson on that one. College football, the Bison claim their 10th Missouri Valley Football Conference. Boy, do they stick a foot into the Penguins in Youngstown, Ohio, Joel. They just they went out there right out of the get-go, had some big chunk plays. Defense got her done. Obviously, the weather wasn't brilliant, as it rarely seems to be in Youngstown. 49-17, so NDSU claims their win. They host South Dakota coming up next Saturday. Meanwhile, in Grand Forks, this was a Joel Heitkamp kind of game. Just a lot of physical play, beating and clawing and slapping and twisting and turning and sacking.
3rd down and 4 for Illinois State. Waring empties the backfield, so he's alone back there. Here comes a push. He doesn't see Turner. It's Sack City, baby. That's number 4, and the second for Jackson. Turner, overdrive. Just what the doctor ordered.
I listened to you that whole broadcast. I was
my voice might even be a little different today. I don't know, but I blame Brock Boltman. Well, number one, we had 4 Dakota Bowl games on Friday, so that probably didn't help. But Saturday, Brock Boltman made a catch that was just incredible on a pass, and I heard my Peter Brady came out. My voice, it went from a decent tone to a scratch, and I thought, oh, did I pop a vocal? And I can even feel it today. Did I pop a vocal cord right there?
You say that, but I remember thinking it. I was like, man, he hit an higher octave there.
Like, we'll take this time out, brought to you by Puberty. Jack will be right back with you. Yeah, that's what it sounded like. But you know what? That's what make a general call. That's a genuine call, Joel. Obviously,
it was just
genuine
honest.
excitement.
It was fresh, and it was good. I was excited as you were. I mean, it was awesome. Come on in here. Let's visit
we'll
a little
let
bit.
chat.
Abby, we're on TV. What is this?
We are.
Where do people see us on TV?
I think it's live, but it's YouTube.
If they go on YouTube, they can see you or me.
Sadly, just you.
Oh, we can fix that. Oh,
I don't need a camera here.
You never, ever should have said that. Game on.
Football, we saw Lamar. We saw individual efforts, within team concepts. This Lenmeyer kid that rushed he broke a 76-yarder. It's not even like half of the listening area hadn't even had their second bagel with cream cheese, like 9:30 in the morning, and this kid reeled off a 76-yard touchdown run. Brady Lentenmeyer, 210 yards rushing, and Lamar Litchfield Marion beat Cavalier. And then Kindred, the Vikings, I get it. Kindred's had some championships over the years in various sports. But they had looking for one in football, and Kindred
I was
really,
shocked that
really
that's
good.
that. You just assumed that they'd had
and
one.
Hillsborough sent to Scott Olson. I mean, this was the clash. And HCV had already beaten them, and Kindred came out. Matt Crane and his crew, they were ready to rock and roll. They looked really good, Joel. And Jamestown.
Yeah.
The Blue Jays got a state championship,
baby.
their first championship. They beat St. Mary's, and, that was good. And then West Fargo, Cheyenne. Really, the teams that won played maybe some of their best football.
Yeah.
And that's probably how it should be.
I can tell you as an old linebacker who I wouldn't want to step into the gap and hit that kid from Cheyenne.
Yes.
What's his name?
Josh Hendricks. Josh Hendricks. He's
a load.
Oh, he's like a redwood with legs.
I mean, he is like, I was watching him and I'm like, Oh.
I have sat down, and not to just drop names, but thanks to KFGO, I sat down with a one-on-one with Jerome Bettis a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's got like 4 chests. Just a grown man. That's what Hendrick looks like when he's running. Just like he looks like a 35-year-old man barrel chested against a middle school. You know, he looked, I referenced, he looked like Al Bundy in Polk High. Remember when he scored 4 touchdowns and Married with Children?
when they buy his pants, he's like 36. 36-inch waist? No, thigh.
That was just impressive. It was good. So a lot of fun. And, Minnesota side, New York Mill's still alive. Barnesville. They'll play Chatfield Thursday in the semifinal.
Derek Hansen has me. I'm a huge Barnesville fan.
Yeah,
now.
West Central area Ashby's still playing. Yep. There's some good football yet to be played on that side too. So.
All right. Well, when we come back, we'll talk a little football. We're going to just keep talking. That's what we do here. When Jack Michaels.
You're on TV.
We're on TV.
The Superstation. serious, Clark?
Rusty, is it your birthday?
No, it's
It
not.
ain't my birthday. Abby, is it your birthday?
No, I got a few months.
She does. She's a Jan. You a January?
Jan.
2 months after Joel, exactly.
Well, that
I
must,
call
it-
that
Well, in a few
must
years,
be
but-
Carl the tech. Carl
no,
is in our
Carl's
chief.
in here.
That's
Making
not his
sure.
birthday.
No, not
We're on YouTube right now. But hey,
Yes.
can I just say this? We got birthday presents for you.
Oh, my
Look
goodness.
at that. Look at that. Bring those over, Aberdabba. Look at
Oh,
that.
baby.
You think I don't know how to shop, huh? How did I do?
Joel went shopping this morning.
Joel Heitkamp. See, here's the deal.
He got all the
So
faves.
he's over here.
Yeah.
Oh, now there's the
I forgot the garlic. It's the garlic.
Do you still like
but
that kind?
it's the. This would kill me, but
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that
Okay.
we're not friends.
I'm going to go back and I didn't notice it was the garlic.
It was the
You need the
servalet is
tangy.
the only
Well,
kind.
I was running through the whole thing as fast as you could. Yeah, take one of those. Then
This-
the cupcakes are Viking cupcakes because they didn't have any cowboy
This
cupcakes.
is the size of a human leg.
I know.
It's Rusty.
It's solid.
That could be
That'll-
playing for Cheyenne.
That'll last you a few days.
Well, unfortunately,
I'll take it back and get a different one. Can you take something like this
there's
back?
only one
Do you have your
sausage.
receipt?
No.
like to return this.
Do you ever take the receipt at grocery stores
And then
when they say,
immediately throw it away.
well, I mean, they always say, do you want your receipt? No.
I'm not gonna. I don't know this. I'm just
This would kill me.
I'm just spitballing here. But in every supermarket or even Walmart, I don't see a meat return aisle.
No. I think this has Joel's Fish House written all
I
over
think
it.
so.
But I will get you a different one.
You eat it and then tell me how that
I
tastes.
will get you a
and
different
I'll
one.
stay free of anaphylactic shock.
I'll make up for it. Garlic,
These-
tangy. What's
But-
the difference between this?
Well,
Just
the only
garlic.
sausage I can eat is the cervelet.
Right.
CRVELET.
Right.
It's
or
like a
cervelet.
brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't like
That-
you can't have the Cloverdale?
And the plain cervelet sausage, I don't think so because
No.
they each one. Yeah.
Well,
Should we-
there's
Trust
only
me.
one way to know.
Trust
Should
me.
we go to an emergency room parking lot and try?
And try that with cheese and crackers and anaphylactics.
What was the name of the really nice lady that came and taught us staying
Oh.
alive?
Christy.
Staying alive. Christy?
Right?
I think so. I have her number somewhere.
Yeah,
Coach
call her. Get her over here.
Well,
We'll
I'm
have-
not. And she
No,
can
I think we
revive
should
me.
be near a hospital
If you
if we're gonna test that.
tell her to bring the paddles.
I had
No, he's
$5.
gone.
Everybody says
It's Christy. She's probably listening.
it is
too.
Christy.
It
Hi,
is
Christy. I coached
Christy,
her. I
we
should
need
not
you.
forget that.
Christy,
I'll
we-
fire up a station
always-
vehicle and bring it around.
I always get. Well, don't you carry an EpiPen? No. Just let's go.
well, can I just say this? That we didn't do this to kill you.
No, your thought was phenomenal.
We just did this. You know how
you
you
set it
grab
up so
quick?
well
You-
too, because Joel in the break goes, "Oh, it was your birthday."
Abby and I were ready.
He did. Joel kept winking at me every time he made a comment about
Abby-
not knowing your birthday.
I'm not saying Abby and I are we're friends, but she almost missed. She texted me and it was like 11th hour.
Okay, it was 9
Okay.
p.m.
Well, it was your 11th hour.
Well, I mean, she would have been safe even if it would have been after midnight because you stay up till what, 3
Yeah.
And
every
then
morning?
my text
Yeah.
back to Abby, whenever I text her, I have to like give her this typical older person's text. It's like 7 paragraphs long. I wrote down all the food I ate that day yesterday.
Started with salutations.
I
Abby.
had a bag of peanuts for breakfast, a bowl of ice cream for lunch, and a chef salad for dinner.
You hit all the food groups.
Thank you.
So what did you eat yesterday that you probably shouldn't have eaten?
Nothing
Rusty?
comes to mind.
Nothing?
No.
a
So Aunt
great
Memory,
question.
Aunt
I
Memory,
ate a lot of cheese.
Aunt Memory came over to the house yesterday, and I had horseradish cheese, and I had what?
I love this topic.
This
35270.
I had Serve-A-Lot.
Text the food you
What
shouldn't
did you
have
What
eat
eaten.
should
yesterday
you have
that
eaten
you
yesterday?
shouldn't have eaten?
You're regretting today.
That's a great question.
So then I had Serve-A-Lot because I
Yes.
always buy a bunch of that. So I've cut that up. So we had that as well.
Yep.
I had deviled eggs.
Hey, Abby, Rusty and I and Carl, for that matter, we're going to vacate this room in a couple minutes.
No, I'll
You're
problem
with
solve
Joel
yesterday.
the whole morning.
Yeah.
Super.
Everything got settled yesterday. I'm just telling you.
Oh.
I'm just telling you that when your wife is at your granddaughter's dance recital or competition or clinic or whatever you call it,
The
and
dance Recital clinic.
Whatever. And they're in Bismarck.
Yeah.
And you're with, your brother and your aunt, and
Right.
you're eating football food, right?
Yep.
Football food,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And then she comes home. It didn't seem like she missed me. That's all I'm saying.
Is it a dance recital clinic? What was the first thing you said? Some horseradish thing?
Yeah, horseradish cheese.
Yeah, it's great.
Have you ever? Don't do that until you try it.
Oh, I'm a big fan.
Oh, it's
Love it.
really good.
There's some that are really good and some that are bad.
Well, the one I buy the
There
one
are some that are
in
really
Fairmont where I took. By the way, got my deer this weekend.
Nice.
Yeah, she had it coming.
10 point, 12 point.
My God.
It was a
doe.
Yeah,
Doe.
She
Deer.
had it coming.
it gave
What
me
did
that.
she do?
It gave
Felt
me that
I
look
owed
like
it to
you
her.
can't hit me. Oh yeah, watch this thump. But yeah, I took it to Fairmont, and they have horseradish cheese there,
Yep.
which by the way, really good. But the horseradish cheese I had yesterday, I got at J Mart in Peasic.
Yeah.
Peasic, North Dakota. They got an old-fashioned small town grocery store there. It's just absolutely fabulous, and they sell Christmas candy. I might point out.
Oh.
I mean, bins and bins of Christmas candy. And I got some horseradish cheese from there, and it was absolutely wonderful.
I'm going to play the naive card, and I'm sure I've had this in my house growing up in Williston because Daddy loves horseradish, all of it. Is this a normal thing to have on your shelf?
I'd say no.
No,
Rusty.
it's a bit of
I'd
a.
say the average family
So if I
does it.
went to the loaf and jug or the
No.
pump and pantry or whatever,
Pumping
What?
What?
there's a pump and pantry. That's a
There's no
South.
such
It's
thing.
for
is there?
breastfeeding mothers.
Really?
There's a pump and pantry. Google, I think that's a South
something I would
Dakota.
have said.
That's what I thought of.
You are so on your own.
Cheers to Abby. She's
I've
having a good
been-
week.
Our first
only
day on
Monday.
YouTube, and we've already been blocked.
No, YouTube, you can do a whole bunch
You
more.
can?
I've heard,
All
yeah.
right, well, good.
No, I think it's a pump and pantry, I believe. I think it's a South Dakota thing.
No, there's
Maybe
no
maybe
thing
it's
called-
Wyoming.
Is there a thing called a pump
I'm
and pan?
pretty sure it is.
I don't know.
There's some worse gas stations out there.
This is
Oh,
when
yeah.
this is when you go to
We
the
won't go
text
there.
class because somebody's going to come.
Google strange gas station /
Let's
convenience
count on
store
our
names.
text club at 35270.
I still like. What did you eat yesterday that you're regretting today? Today, that's. I can't wait for
A
that
lot of
list.
good topics today.
Yeah.
Horseradish cheese. Well, you don't do head cheese though.
Oh, I've eaten head cheese.
No.
Up at Park River the other day, Randy in his meat department there, Jim Supervalue, he has head cheese, and he pulled the package down, and you could see part of the tongue in the package, and he goes, "It's." Are you ready for this?
Yeah, this is appealing. Go ahead.
Here's what he said. It's the only meat that'll lick you back. It's serious.
Oh.
It's serious.
No, I must have missed something along the way on things that are good. But
I will be honest with you
On
about
things
this.
that
I
are
don't
good.
rush to head cheese.
no,
I don't. And I don't rush to blood sausage or liver sausage.
No.
But, I'm not going to candy out either. I mean, I'm gonna be there.
Horseradish cheese.
Yeah.
And Rusty, you look like you're like
Yes. Yeah.
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 How about smoked oysters? You ever had
Oh,
those?
yeah,
They're
those are
good. You
good.
ever had a smoked oyster, Bones?
Yep.
Boy, if you haven't, and you're listening to Lionel Richie, you're about to have a beautiful evening.
All right, when we
It's a
come
little
back,
aphrodisiac-ish, I mean.
more of this birthday edition right here on the News and Views Radio Network. He's not lying.
Right?
Pump and pantry.
Thank you.
Yes. I'm looking at all the different sites.
Don't
and don't ever
question
him.
C-store
Ever
gas stations.
question him. I mean, if you look at, looks like a heck of a C-store.
It's not bad.
It
Pretty
does.
good aisles. Good spacing.
What's your go-to? There's actually one in Great Bend, by the way. Not the Great Bend that I love, but a Great Bend.
Great Bend,
Yes.
like Oregon?
Like, I don't know where the heck it's got mountains behind it and trees.
Probably that.
So it's probably in Oregon, yes.
I
But
want a clean restroom. I want spacious aisles.
I don't want a key with a great big thing on it. You know, like,
Right.
I mean, it's always like, okay, I'm holding this.
How many places do you have to carry like a block of wood?
The bathroom key.
Dragging
Bathroom
along.
key. Here, there's that big stick that's got so many germs.
I
It's like
know.
someone chopped
That's
off
the thing I don't want to. It's just
whittled
like
a cane and
look,
there's phlegm on it and vomit, germs. And
I can hold it till the next day.
you guys got a tree? Anybody got a tree? I hate those things. Remember the old holiday stores all had
remember
one?
the jerk, David Johnson? Remember he would use the
Oh.
gun and it was tied to an old tire,
Yeah, exactly.
like the inner wheel of a tire. And he's just dragging this.
What was the name of the real name of his boss in that movie? He was like a great stand-up comedian. Oh,
I don't know.
Come on, you shouldn't have brought it up if I didn't know the answer.
No.
Jackie Mason.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, Jackie Mason.
He doesn't want to put a hole in those cans. He wants to put a hole in you. I do it, Jackie Mason. It sounds a lot like Bernie Sanders, right? It's the same.
Defective.
It's the same. These are defective cans. That's a defective person. If you'd seen the jerk, Abby, I'd be in the ballpark.
I would understand it more. It seems really funny.
I'm getting Joel and Rusty.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Remember Carl Reiner with the
Optogram.
it had,
Notice what happened
So your
when-
glasses did slip. It had a deal here.
Failed to
And then
yell
his eyes-
when he failed to yell cut. Car goes over the.
I feel like it's like you had to see it. You had to see it.
Oh,
You need
but
to
you
read
won't
the jerk.
see it.
My-
won't
You guys
take it
give the worst movie recommendations. You tell me to watch movies that 8th grade boys like.
My old morning partner on FM station, Tina Renee, bought me that for my. Speaking of my birthday, bought me that movie for my birthday one year. And I thought, oh, Tina, thank you.
Somebody wants to know if there's a link on our website for the YouTube stream that you're on now.
Are you serious?
That's
It's time to rethink.
We wouldn't do.
Joel's on YouTube.
That's a defective
I'm
person.
on TV.
The funniest part about that is he says, all I can pay you is $1.14 an hour. And then Steve Martin waits and he goes, so I work here 1 hour and you'll pay me $1.14. And he starts thinking, he goes, I'll take it. Abby, have we brought you into the jerk yet? Have you wanted it yet?
I think I need a little bit more.
That's the great thing about YouTube that we're on right now. You can pull up
I know,
that
I'm looking
scene.
at it.
You
It's
know,
just called News and Views.
down in our, Abby's office is adjacent to mine.
Yes.
And so when I find something that I just want to show her on YouTube,
Do you scream?
she's in her. I say, Abby, come here. And she's like, I have this image of her like, oh.
I can tell by his tone,
Here we
kind of like
go
if it's
again.
going to be important or not, and it usually isn't.
Time to make the donuts.
It's a lot of movie clips or live performances from like Bruce Springsteen,
Right.
yes,
the
exactly.
Allman Brothers.
Hello. I mean,
Actually,
think about that.
Carl, our IT guy standing right next to me, hates having an office by us.
He hates what?
Having his office.
His
right
office
by-
is between ours.
Abby, come here. Carl's like, oh god.
We just
here
yell.
go again.
Joel and I just yell at each other, and Carl blocks us out.
Poor Carl. He's a bad part of that isosceles triangle.
I
right
get a
there.
kick out of when people come into my office and they shut the door and they just softly, Jack, we've got to do.
My
And
office
then I go,
was-
they go, well, maybe Abby can help. Abby, come here. She goes, she's been listening the whole time.
Well, I don't always listen, but I can hear my name.
Carl's going to write a book in 10 years, and it's going to be a thing, things I heard between Abby and Joel's office.
Yeah.
It's
Off
not
the
good.
charts.
It's not good.
Mine was back there until I've moved offices here. But Joe used to hide my moon pies. Remember I had the stacks of moon pies back there. Now they're
Then
like cement.
we put him in his desk because we were like, Bones, you don't need this office. And he's like, no, I want my office. And it's like, okay, I mean, you're radio
I'm
veteran.
always
you're
in a studio.
One of the
I'm
rock
rarely in
stars
my
here. You
office.
need a place. When, quite frankly, I would guess he goes to mine because of the couch he sleeps. The man needs to sleep more. But anyway, we took these moon pies and we put him in his office so that he wouldn't. we'd be able to prove to him he never goes in his office, right?
So,
They were there for
office
6
pranks.
years. You literally, I mean, you could have used those for hockey pucks.
Those moon pies were hard.
They were hard.
Well, thanks for the gifts.
Yes.
Happy
Yes,
birthday.
I promise I will get you a different one.
Chevrolet?
Well-
Don't. It's like $45 a stick. I mean,
Yeah,
My
this-
mother texted me and she said Chevrolet is her favorite.
This
Denise and I. See,
this stick here was, it should have been regular.
cut that out.
This stick here cost $82.
I want to see a video.
$82.
An investment plan. You had to
I wonder what
purchase
it
that.
takes. Now that we bought it, Dabadoo, we should just cut it up and see what it's like.
Put some
We're not
horseradish
going to get
in
rid
it.
of it.
Right. I mean, we should just. But
wanna
I'm really
see-
curious with the tangy,
Okay,
garlicky.
go back and get crackers and cheese when you
And
pick up the
horseradish.
meat.
I always
cheese.
have a knife on me. We'll get into this in just a second. All right. When we come back, the troopers are in the house.
Those are defective cans.
Good to be with you on this on Monday. Abba. She's like, don't talk to me. I've got cupcake in my mouth.
I made sure not to take a bite first.
It's Jack Michael's birthday yesterday. Is it anyone else's birthday that we know of?
Oh,
I'm just trying to get the feel for this. Is it your birthday, Captain Brian Newman?
It is not.
Okay, let's go over here. Sergeant Jesse Graybo from the Minnesota State Patrol. Is it your birthday? It is. What's that?
It is.
Oh, we found him.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Yeah, there we go. Let's get it.
Look at that.
They don't give you the day
2
off in
birthdays.
Minnesota?
Bum.
And we're making him come here on his birthday.
What kind of union do you have? You can't have the day off on your birthday.
I was hoping for overtime, actually.
The boys are all grizzlied up. By the way, you can find it on YouTube. You find the link on KFGO.com, the home base of the News and Views Radio Network, and there'll be a click there. You go to YouTube, and you're about to see, the trooper's face, hopefully, and not mine. That's the key, right, Abby?
Yeah.
This is gonna
Sorry to
take some
break it to you
getting
guys,
used to.
but we're on YouTube now.
They're like, they want this because, quite frankly, it's what's it called? Movember?
We call it Movember. Some call it No Shave November.
No shave.
No
Is that
shave
what it is?
November, yes.
Okay, so explain. You go ahead and explain, Captain, what this means first.
So for the North Dakota State Patrol, we cannot have beards normally. So in November, if you donate to a charity, and this year we've picked St. Jude's as an agency, if you donate $75 or more, you can grow a beard, or you can have painted fingernails, like a colored on your fingernails.
Which trooper does that?
Oh, we have female troopers, so it gives them an opportunity
I'm
in
sorry.
November to
I was not thinking. I apologize in advance.
to participate in the charity event as well.
Okay, and on the Minnesota side,
And for the Minnesota State Patrol, we're not allowed to have beards, but you can have a mustache year-round. And this is something that I've done now for the last 10 years. I just grow the mustache for Movember, and just to raise awareness for men's health, that type of thing.
the minute I saw you, I knew what you were going to look like when you came in. The minute I saw Jesse, I'm like, all right, Brian's going to come in looking like, because you guys both, we've done this before in November.
Oh, yes.
And you both always have that look. And so, by the way, no charity. I just grew my winter goatee
Well,
out.
it's hunting season, too.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. That's exactly why I do it, because between hunting and ice fishing, you should have that. And then come about April, it'll be mow it off. So good job, though, you guys. In all seriousness, given to charity, it says a lot about your organizations. We do get the troopers in. We do take your phone calls. We do take your messages, and that's the great thing about them coming in. They don't run. They don't hide. They take them all. And so give us a call if you so desire on the Laney's News and Views studio line at 1-800-880-5346. I'm going to begin. Sergeant Graybo, we just went through the first of, our winter weather. You told me one time, it takes a while for even the people here to get used to it.
Yeah, I think there's a learning curve. It's a big part of it. And you always hope that you're going to ease into it with just a little bit of a light snow or whatever. And, for those few days, we got hit with a little bit of everything from the freezing rain to snow, wind. That Friday morning, just the visibility. And then a little bit of everything throughout, Saturday evening. It was very busy for kind of everybody throughout the region here. So it's just one of those things. We hope to get through it without any serious crashes. And we did. Within our region, there was no serious injuries or fatalities, but at least in regards to weather-related conditions and whatnot. But still, we got a lot of winter ahead of us yet.
Captain Ewan, when I heard a bus was tipped over by Medina, I just cringed. I was like, you say a prayer and you hope that it was scary for me. It was.
Yeah, anytime you hear about a bus being involved in a crash, it's always, especially like this is a charter bus or a school bus, it's going to have people most likely on it. And luckily in this case, there were no serious injuries. Everybody in the bus was okay. That was the DSU football team. They were able to make it to where they needed to go after the investigation and everything was completed. But again, we were busy on our side of the river too. I can't say I was in Minnesota deer hunting, but I know the men and women in our agency were very, very busy in the southeast part of the state. Same thing with the snow, the wind, the little bit of freezing rain we had just created some very dangerous conditions out there. And we had people that weren't minding their P's and Q's and were leaving the roadway, causing issues. And luckily, again, we had no fatalities in our area and no serious injuries at all the property damage crashes or minor injuries.
I can tell you this, the drive up, and I've done this for 17 years now, drive up to Fargo every day. That was one of the worst. That was, and it probably was because of the fact that the wind couldn't make up its mind what it wanted to do. The road was just slick, icy. You had one of those things going on, and it would throw you around anyway. And then all of a sudden, a 50-mile-an-hour gust would come by, and it'd be like, oh, okay, best pay attention here. And it was one of those days. It really was.
It is tough when you get those wind gusts, especially when you have those icy road conditions. You can be driving as straight as an arrow, as slow as you can be possibly going, and a wind gust comes through, especially those high-profile vehicles. It's going to cause them, if they don't have a lot of weight on those, to lose control. And that's all she wrote then.
And that was our biggest problem too, was the semis that were pulling empty or almost empty type trailers. I mean, they were just big wind catchers, and we had a lot of jackknives, which backed up traffic quite a bit on our side, especially on I-94 there.
So let's say they get caught in this, guys. Let's say that you are a semi, you're empty. This is just a suicide march for you. If they pull over on an overpass, and sit on the on-ramp or off-ramp, you guys okay with that?
Yeah, certainly. I would encourage using the off-ramps, definitely.
So
yes.
You're not going to get after them, say, hey, this isn't for parking.
And they have to, they have to decide whether or not it's safe for them to be driving. They have a responsibility driving those trucks, and obviously they have time constraints, all that kind of stuff they're dealing with, but they have to mind the weather and the road conditions and whether or not they should be out there safely driving. And so they have to make those decisions on their own. And, hopefully they're making those right decisions and not causing issues like we had this past week.
And I don't know if it was on the North Dakota or Minnesota side. I think it was over on the Minnesota side that a side dump hauling beets, the beets got away from them. And, and so you're sitting there. I think it was on 75. If I'm wrong, I apologize. But what do you do at a time like that? Do you just get the snow plow out, or what do you do?
Yeah, pretty much get a plow truck up there, or a lot of times some of these farmers are pretty quick about getting their equipment up there, getting a skid steer or something like that to help get the things off the roadway. And you kind of do what you can. We try to provide them some light, some cover, some protection, but just need everybody doing their part to pay attention and slow it down.
Are they responsible for getting the beets out of the ditch in the spring, or how do you work that?
Yeah, anybody that loses their loader, they're ultimately responsible. So whether they do it themselves or the highway department, they'll most likely bill them if they have to take care of it. So yeah, it kind of depends on each circumstance.
Same thing on the North Dakota side.
Yeah, our goal is to quickly clear as many crashes as we can. Obviously, sometimes you can't, but if we have a snow plow there, we're going to push that stuff off the roadway if we can. And again, it's going to be the responsibility of the company, the owner of the vehicle, and or the insurance company to remove those items.
Yeah. Text message comes in. It says, regarding the difference between Fargo and Twin City drivers, Fargo drivers are not willing to move over if there's room to let a person merge onto congested I-29 or I-94 in rush hour. Twin City drivers are just the opposite on the freeways. There's including Interstate 494 when merging during rush hour. Do you see that?
There is no requirement for people to move over. The traffic that's merging onto the interstate has to yield the traffic that's on there already. So, obviously we have some very close on-ramps and exit ramps when you think about Fargo. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times people are trying to get to one of those. So they maybe don't want to move over because they're probably not going to be able to get back over in the lane that they need to get off or on the interstate.
And that's their concern.
Yes.
Right? How about Minnesota?
Yeah, same thing. You yield the right of way to the mainline traffic, but still just, doing everybody's part to pay attention and share the road. Have a little patience too.
Well, and I would argue that what they're saying is spot on right, that people don't move over enough and let people on. I understand what you're saying, Captain Ewan, on the fact that, hey, they're very close on off-ramps. That being said, whenever I've been nervous about pulling over that I will miss that exit, for me, typically it's people coming on 32nd. I've got to get off on the interstate, and I take 25th. If that's the route I chose, I always make it. It's always like, okay, pull over, be the decent guy. And I'm like, man, I'm going to miss it. I always make it. You find a way to make it. So maybe I'm causing trouble in the passing lane. The other thing, though, with all this is, be fair to North Dakota drivers versus Twin City drivers. They have 3 lanes everywhere. Or 4 lanes. It's not always the same in comparison. So there's my one sticking up for our side. Let me ask you this. Seasonally, we go from, camper season, boat season, now to full harvest season. Now that's put away. We go into winter season, which we just went through. What else is out there other than icy roads that this time of year you want people to keep an eye on, Sergeant Grable?
A little bit of everything. It's just being aware of the conditions. It changes so quickly for any of us here in this region, the tri-state area. I think can be some of the most difficult driving conditions as far as how it can change so quickly. So I can't say it enough. After you come out of a a storm like we've had for the last couple of days, you're really tempted, like, I want to start using that cruise control again. And like the commute on in this morning, things are doing pretty good. Our state trucks, the plow trucks, are doing a good job of dumping the salt, sand, chemical out on the roadways. But still, I'd say don't use it yet. The overpasses, the bridge decks, things like that, they tend to be a little more slick.
Captain Neiman?
Yeah, it's just the unpredictability, I think. Like Sergeant Grable said, is that you get these underpasses, these overpasses, these bridge decks, these culvert areas, they can frost over. It's very humid out today, and that temperature is right around that freezing point. So that's when we have those frost areas on our roadways, and those create issues. If you have that cruise control on, you're gonna potentially spin out when you hit those areas. So keep the cruise control off. Always wear that seatbelt. Obviously, we have deer hunting going on right now. There are deer moving, so that's just one thing to be watching for right now as well, I suppose, is probably, besides the winter weather type of events.
I can vouch for that.
It's a deer's world, and we only drive in it. So
let's get to the weather cave and find Too Tall Tom Szymanski. Tom, what do you have for him? you want to see what these Grizzly Troopers look like, you just go to YouTube. There's a link on there now, right? On the home
There
base?
is. If you go to our Facebook page and our website, there's a link.
How come there isn't a camera on you? Can I ask that?
I don't know. I'm not complaining, though.
All due respect to the troopers, you might be the only one people want to see out of the three of us, four of us, I should say. Questions come in and said, why did they remove the yield signs on the interstate on-ramps?
Number one is you have to yield to traffic that's on the main line already. But what was happening was people were yielding when they didn't need to. The goal of an on-ramp is for you to accelerate to highway speed and merge onto the interstate safely. You only have to yield if there's traffic that's in the lane. So people were yielding when they didn't need to. So the goal of it is to accelerate, get up to highway speed, and get on the interstate. And that's why they removed the yield signs, because people were yielding when they didn't need to.
Sarge?
Same thing.
Same thing. Yep. No problem. Why can't you have beards? They want to know.
That's a good question. It's just been in our policy. I don't know.
Captain?
I think we're considered a paramilitary organization. And like in the military, same thing. They can't have beards. It's just one of the things that for our professional look, we feel as an agency it's more professional not to have a beard. And that's, I guess, one of the reasons why we don't have them is just because of the image we're trying to portray each and every day when we're out there working.
So I have this small aluminum trailer that I can easily haul my Polaris Ranger on, and I went through the lights. Lights are all working. But if I didn't have that hooked up, say the Ranger on it so it's blocking whatever, and you could see the tail lights from my pickup when I'm hauling it, if I'm going down the road with that aluminum trailer without the lights hooked up, am I illegal?
Yes, you have to have those lights working on that trailer.
Same on your side?
Same in Minnesota. Yep. All lights must be working.
Not that I've ever done that. I'm just saying. No, but I mean, you're going a short distance, hauling a lawnmower, those type of things. You're supposed to have them hooked up.
Well, it's interesting you say short distance because I've seen short distances for some folks I've came in contact with is like 50 miles. So
yeah. Well, not that. I'm not talking about that. But people always use that.
Right.
And what is the worst, Captain? What is the worst homemade trailer you've ever seen?
I've seen some pretty bad car hauling trailers that are jimmy rigged together that are very, very bad. That's probably some of the worst stuff I've seen.
I seen a pontoon trailer, allegedly a pontoon trailer that gets shared and passed around kind of thing. And, I came across it once. The pontoon was laying in the middle of Highway 59 just by Dunvilla one day. So we had to get a few things straightened out.
Can I just say that pontoon trailers are probably the most passed around trailer period.
You are correct.
I had one, and it got. Hey Joel, what day? Hey Joel, what day?
You're getting some use out of those tires at least. Then,
it
right?
does, and I never cared as long as. I'm trying to remember. I think it started with me borrowing someone else's.
Sure.
And then finally I borrowed one, or he sold, and then I had to buy one. Well, then mine became the most popular property on the.
That's the way it works.
So in terms of hauling, some of the product in now, you're going to see a lot of people hauling corn to the ethanol plants, those type of things. You're going to see them loading up the sugar beets from the pilers, taking those back. I mean, what's your advice to the public out there?
Obviously, when you see large vehicles, just pay attention to them. Do not follow them too close, and don't cut them off, because one of the big things is with big rigs is that they don't have the stopping power that a passenger car does. So you need to give them space. They can't see behind them real well, so don't get real close behind them. Give them some space behind them, and also when you get past them, give them some space before you merge back into the lane in front of them.
Yeah, exactly. The larger the vehicle, the longer it takes to stop.
A couple questions come in. North Dakota has speed limits posted on off-ramps. I rarely see speed limits posted on the Minnesota side. Reasoning?
Well, we don't have speed limits posted on the ramps. I mean, as far as just because the speed limits are posted on the main lines of traffic, I guess. So
they're saying North Dakota has speed limits posted on off-ramps. I don't know that.
There might be some of the yellow and black signs that you see like on maybe like a cloverleaf curve, just saying maybe 25 miles per hour.
I see what you're getting.
I know in Jamestown there is the cloverleaf ramp. If you're coming out of town on exit 260 to go eastbound on I-94, there's a 25 mile per hour sign on that ramp just because of the curvature of the ramp. But most often on-ramps in North Dakota don't have speed limit signs on them in North Dakota.
Okay.
Right.
Well, some interesting there's more questions coming in for you guys. You can also speak to them at 1-800-880-5346, the Laney's News and Views studio line. And you can also Go to YouTube now, Abby.
Go to YouTube.
Go to YouTube now. It's a whole new day here in the News and Views radio studio. Think about this before we come back. You can answer it then, guys. It said, remember when the trooper said you don't have to dim your bright lights? Not dimming your lights is 1 point off on your license in North Dakota. I'm just going to say this before they answer it. What they said was you don't have to dim your lights on the interstate. That's what I remember the conversation, but we'll get to that when we come back right here on News and Views. 237-5948, 1-800-880-5346. If you want your question answered by the troopers, you just got to call in. A couple of questions came in by text for the troopers. I'll first send this one to Sergeant Grable. It says, Joel, ask the troopers if they're all about safety. Why are they standing on the side of the road in dark uniforms?
Boy, I guess I don't know about that. Anytime we're on the side of the roads, we're generally standing with our high visibility jackets, vests, things like that on, trying to be visible. So,
Captain?
The only time we should not have our vests on is normally when we're on traffic stops. But when we're out there on a crash, on a highway assist, directing traffic, something like that, we do require people to wear a high visibility vest. And obviously, if it's an emergency, we're not going to hop out of the car, throw that vest on, and go take care of somebody right away. We're going to take care of things, the emergency first, then go back, throw those on. So the majority of the time, when you see us, we do have lights on our patrol car, so you should be moving over. So you shouldn't be worried about hitting us because if you've moved over. But if you don't, make sure you're slowing down around those patrol cars. And don't slow down right when you get to the patrol car, especially during these winter months, because you're going to lose control and you're probably going to hit us.
Somebody said, Joel, remember when the trooper said you don't have to dim your bright lights? Not dimming your lights is 1 point off of your North Dakota license.
So in North Dakota, you are required to dim your headlights, especially on those 2-lane roadways. If you're approaching somebody at 500 feet, if you're coming up behind at 300 feet, if you're on a separate roadway like the interstate system, it's considered a separate roadway in North Dakota. And the way our law is written is that on that separate roadway, so if I'm traveling westbound with my high beams on and somebody's coming eastbound, I do not have to dim my lights for them. Common courtesy would say you should do that, but state law does not require that on that divided highway.
Minnesota, so you must dim your lights. Doesn't matter if it's a regular 2-lane roadway or the freeway. Anything that runs even adjacent. So let's say it's a frontage road next to the road you're currently on, you would need to. And that's within 1,000 feet of meeting a vehicle and 200 feet when following another vehicle.
Okay, another one here. Well, no, that one would be inappropriate to ask. So we won't ask that. Guys, to me, it's just also seasonal. You know the fish houses are about to come out. And they've been sitting around for how long, and the guys are going to hook them up. And granted, not everybody's got the new, it's also my camper type fish houses. How do you deal with that? In Lakes Country, you must see it a lot.
We do see it quite a bit. I mean, people are getting better, but every once in a while you'll be, driving around and you see that one, and you have a little talk, a little roadside education, and just try to get people to be aware. Because everybody's, again, it's like, it's just a short distance. Well, how far are you going? Well, 32 miles. I'm like,
that's more than a little distance.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of those things can't be pulled very fast. Obviously, if you have an ice castle, they're made to be pulled down the roadway. They've got the lights and everything on them. Sometimes people don't have them hooked up, but these homemade ones, sometimes they're pretty rough, and they're probably not the most roadworthy as well. So just obviously be mindful of that. Make sure you do have those working lights on those trailers, because you have to have working lights on them. So whether it's a portable pair you put on the back of it for while you're driving, or if you've got some permanent ones mounted, that's great as well.
Kevin's got a question for the troopers. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, I got a question I'm a North Dakota resident with constitutional carry. I usually keep a loaded firearm in my vehicle, but I do not have a CCW. So when I travel into Minnesota and I cross the bridge, do I take that firearm and unload it, put it in my trunk, or what do I do so that I'm legal? I know I have to tell the officer I have a firearm, but where should it be, and should it be loaded?
Right. So when you're coming into Minnesota, then, and Minnesota would not recognize that North Dakota permit, yes, you would obviously need to pull over, stop, and unload, case it up, and put it in an area that would not be immediately accessible to you, I guess. Does that answer your question?
Do I still need to notify the officer that I have a firearm
You
unloaded?
do not. You do not.
Okay.
If it's in the trunk, it's...
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate the call. Guys, how often does that happen to you? Where so I'll go with you first, Captain, where you pull up to somebody and they say, hey, I've got a loaded firearm in here.
It's common. I wouldn't say, it's common. It's not something you see every day, but it is common. In North Dakota, we have concealed weapons permits, so some people have those. Those individuals do not have to notify you. If you have a concealed weapons permit in North Dakota, they don't have to tell you that they have a loaded weapon. If you ask, if you find out they have a concealed weapons permit and you ask, they have to let you know, but they don't have to immediately tell you. If they're carrying underneath the constitutional carry law in North Dakota, which any North Dakota resident that's 18 years of age or older can carry a loaded weapon with them, they have to tell you, if they don't have a concealed weapons permit, that they have a loaded weapon. So there's a little bit difference between the constitutional carry and the concealed weapons in North Dakota, but it's something we commonly see.
Sergeant Graybo.
Right. Very, very similar. I guess a lot of times when people make, they'll let you know, like, hey, just let you know I got a loaded weapon on me or in my vehicle. I said, oh, okay, well, that's fine, But a lot of times it's when I ask for the insurance or something like that. Like, officer, just let you know, I got my insurance in the glove box. I got a loaded gun in there, too. I said, okay, thank you for letting me know. Just leave it in there. And, not too worried about that. We'll figure out another way to figure out your insurance. So it's just nice to have that little heads up, I guess.
What about if you're driving home and you've got your deer rifle in the back in a case, or shotgun in a case, that type of thing? Don't have to notify anybody.
If it's unloaded, you don't need to notify anybody.
Piece of cake.
Yeah.
Same.
No problem.
Yep.
How about the deer crossing signs? Jerky came in and he's like, Minnesota isn't replacing deer crossing signs.
Well, they found out the deer don't listen so well and don't cross at those signs. So they just no. It's just one of those things.
You've been asked that before.
I have, and it's interesting because anybody within this region knows that there's deer out there all the time. In some areas we know are a little more problematic, but it happens all over. So was it one of those things that was just like people are becoming numb to, just starting to ignore it because it's just there? It's like doesn't matter anymore. But maybe for the folks that aren't from there, maybe it's a little helpful. But I think it's just part of the thing that we got to make ourselves do each and every time we get in that vehicle. Just pay attention, keep scanning for deer, that type of thing.
Somebody said, Joel, I was told in North Dakota that a boat trailer doesn't need to have a license plate. Is this true?
That's correct. You don't have to have a registration on your recreational trailer. So if you have a snowmobile trailer that you're hauling snowmobiles on, ATV trailer, your boat trailer, they do not have to have registration in North Dakota.
Also, somebody said, can you haul your boat in Minnesota without one?
Well, in Minnesota, you must have registration on your vehicle. Now, let's say you're coming from North Dakota where you don't have to and you're coming to Minnesota. We would honor that state's laws and policies. Okay. Yes.
See, I go back to my little aluminum trailer, okay? I have a, what I call utility license on there, and I like having it on there. The problem was in the beginning, North Dakota DOT didn't send you a renewal on it, so now you're back into do I go wait in line forever to get, but they did last year. They sent me a renewal on that little plate, and I was like, good, if they send me one, it's got a number on it, send me the renewal. I'll send you the money.
Yeah, and they send you a registration tab to put on it as well. So
right.
if you're driving around that with the expired tab, it kind of makes you feel guilty a little bit, I'm sure.
Exactly.
Even though a lot of those trailers you do not have to have registration on. So in North Dakota, any trailer that's 1,500 pounds or greater, that's not a recreational trailer, it needs to be registered. Or any trailer that's less than 1,500 pounds that you're using for a commercial business has to be registered.
Somebody said, Joel, wow, I did not know you could have a loaded firearm in a vehicle. I knew you could have the clip in it, but not loaded. You sure as heck can't do that hunting. The game warden would fine you. So they don't have one in the chamber, though, right?
You can have a loaded weapon in North Dakota in your vehicle if you are a North Dakota resident underneath our constitutional carry law.
So one can be in the chamber?
Yes.
When hunting in Minnesota, then, no, the weapon must be unloaded. If you're going to and directly from the hunting land, that type of thing, and if you're in cities, I believe smaller population, 100,000, which is, most areas for us out there in Minnesota, but then you would you don't have to have it cased, but it cannot be loaded.
I'd have a really hard time having somebody explain to me why any in the chamber firearm in your vehicle would be safe. I'm sure they do I'm trained, I've been out to the range. I know how to handle a firearm better than you, even though I've been handling one my whole life. And I'd have a hard time with them explaining to me when you can have your clip in it. You can get one in the chamber about as quick as you possibly can imagine. I just have a hard time somebody explaining to me why it would be safe to have one in the chamber. I'm not going to ask you for your opinions, but you know where I'm going with that. Joel, why are private snow removal companies and contractors allowed to run without flashing lights? Shouldn't they be reserved to run around with flashing lights? I'm sorry. Shouldn't they be reserved for emergency and DOT vehicles? Sergeant Graybo.
Well, I guess, are they talking the ones that do like the parking lots, that type of thing?
Yeah.
Is that the question? Yeah. They can't use them when they're on the highways because they're not actually part of that snow removal process there. It's within the parking lots is where they would need to use them.
It's the same in North Dakota. So if they're driving around on our roadways with those on, they should be shutting them off. It's not legal to be driving on the roadways because they're not considered an emergency vehicle.
Right. Okay, let's get back to the phone lines, and that takes us to Doug. Doug, you're on News and Views.
Hey, Joel, Doug from Abercrombie. Say, I've run into I drive truck. I run into a lot of people now in the inclement weather, they're driving with their daytime running lights on, which leaves them no tail lights. Do they enforce that? And my second question is, these LED light bars that are just blind you, do they enforce them, or isn't there a law against them?
Which one wants to go first, Captain?
So when it comes to the inclement weather in North Dakota, you have to have your lights on. So headlights and taillights, if you cannot see 1,000 feet, if it's visibility is less than 1,000 feet, even though it might be snowing, right? If you can see over 1,000 feet, you don't have to have your lights on. It's not a requirement in North Dakota. It's if you have visibility is less than 1,000 feet.
So the power of the LED,
yes.
Second part of it.
But a lot of people have automatic headlights, and they won't. If it's bright out and it's snowing, they don't automatically come on. And people most times don't even turn their lights on anymore, right? Because they just let the car do it.
That's what I'm getting at.
But
they
people just
don't
need to
turn their tail lights on.
Exactly.
And it's dark out.
And it is a requirement that people, I get, we become lazy as a society. Yeah. And but the second part of that question was I forgot.
How bright the LED lights
are. So there are some those LED bars that you'll see like on vehicles that you cannot drive around with those on.
Okay, do you guys enforce that ever?
When we see that, we'll stop that.
Running down the interstate all the time. And also, the cars, even if you just pull them over and tell them, hey, you can't be seen from behind. It'd be great if you guys would do that.
We can only stop them if the visibility is less than 1,000 feet. So again, if it's raining or snowing and you can see 1,000 feet or more, we can't stop them for that violation.
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate it. What about the Minnesota side with the LED lights and with the whole
right with these LED spotlight, different things like that? They are not allowed on Minnesota roadways. They must be covered. They must be covered. Whether
Doug's right though. I mean, they are so bright, they're blinding.
They are.
I mean, they really are. Caller, why don't trains have to dim their lights anymore when they're driving?
That's a federal regulation, I guess. I don't have the answer for that.
You don't have the power to jump on the train and
they were here before cars were, so I guess they have kind of the right of way.
Talk to the Federal Rail Authority.
All I'm saying is this person wanted to know. So, all right.
No idea.
Let's get to the weather cave and find Too Tall Tom. Tom? Couple of messages come in. Ask the troopers. Well, you already answered that one. Frequent trips on I-94 to the Twin Cities have observed pedestrians on the highway, disabled vehicles, erratic drivers. How do I report these, Sergeant Grable?
911 still your best route. Even if you're not sure if it's emergency, it may create emergency, so call in. They'll get you to the right place and the right people.
Same thing on non-emergencies like animal kills, debris on highway.
That's just it. It still can cause a hazard, and by the time you try to figure out what the non-emergency number is, it could have caused a crash or something else like that and being a hazard out there. So again, just call 911 and explain the situation, what you got, and they'll put you through.
So on the North Dakota side?
Same thing in North Dakota. If you call 911, the 911 operator can get your location as well, because you might not know exactly where you're at. They'll get your location. So if you dial that right away, we'll have a better general idea than versus let's say you're driving down the road and you're like, it's somewhere between Fergus Falls and Alexandria.
Why do the law enforcement officers sit on the side of the road with their lights off at night? It seems dangerous.
So anytime we're sitting with our lights off at night, maybe we might be doing some paperwork on the side of the road. We are always parked someplace where we're well off the road. We're not a hazard to anybody. It's no different than anybody else. You can park off the road with your lights on. We're doing the same thing. And we're out there either doing enforcement or we're out there typing a report.
Right. I mean, we're generally putting lights on, that type of thing. I mean, anything to make us visible. But there could be some situations where, hey, maybe we do need to be, blacked out as far as no lights, that type of thing, depending on what we're looking for. Maybe it's a real bad murder suspect, kidnapping, whatever. We need to be blacked out in a certain situation. So there can be always those types of circumstances also.
Do you use airplanes anymore to time vehicles for speeding tickets?
We do some of that, not a lot anymore, no.
Okay.
Right. State Patrol still does when we have time and on occasion, but they get tied up with a lot of other calls for service too. So
I tried explaining to my kids remember when you'd go down the highway, the interstate in North Dakota had this for a while, where the shoulder on the right side had a painted airplane, which was their way of telling you, you know what, you could be monitored by an airplane. Slow down.
You'll see some white blocks on the shoulders as well, and those are from the days when we've done airplane enforcement as well. You'll see some of those on the shoulder.
They know the mile.
Marks, I believe it's every half mile.
Yep. Just in case the sign or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. And it's easier for them to see from the air.
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, interesting, because that's...
Well, it's always interesting when you get them stopped, because they're like, well, my radar detector never went off. Well, that's because we're not using radar. See that guy? And I have him stick their head out the window. See him up there? He dips his wings a little bit, and that's who got you. So.
Yeah, I'd like to tell you that I never got picked up by that way, but it happened. I can still see it. It was right by Medina.
Who was a trooper?
It was. This was years. I was a young guy, but it was right by Medina, and the interstate speed at that time was 55. And it just felt like I should go buy an oar, and just start rowing as I went on. The interstate being 55, it was designed to be faster. And Captain Newman, it just felt really slow.
That's before my day. So I was probably a passenger in a car, never noticed the speed limit before when I was probably 55 on the interstate.
It wasn't good. Let's get to Roy. Roy, you're on with the troopers.
Good morning. Outline for me the guidelines for smoked windows. Are they illegal on the interstate, legal, or do they differ from like Fargo's law on smoked windows? Because there's lots of smoked windows in Fargo, but I had my sports car out on the interstate and I got stopped because I had smoke.
Roy, the clock's got me, so I wanted you to answer quick.
You have to have 50% or more light transmittance on your front two windows in North Dakota.
North Dakota?
On a passenger car, 50% or more on all windows.
I know I'm speaking on behalf of all those listeners out there that thank you guys for being out basically in harm's way and for coming in and answering questions. So appreciate it, you guys. Senator Tim Mathern, when we come back, we'll talk special session. Well, the special session is over. The redistrict lines have been drawn, and of course, they turned it into a policy session as well. But there was two focuses. Remember, they had to appropriate the money. They had to get the money that the federal government had sent the state of North Dakota out working on behalf of the United States, I might add, and we'll talk about that in just a sec. And they had to redistrict. They went further than that. But I don't know anyone who understands this better than Senator Tim Mathern. Senator Mathern is somebody I'm proud to call my friend. He has always legislated from a standpoint of what's best for people. And he was somebody that I looked to often to make sure my head was screwed on right. Let's get to him. Senator Mathern, good to have you on News and Views.
Good to be with you, Joel. Appreciate the opportunity to talk about the session.
Tell me how it went. Tell me, I mentioned 3 different categories there. Let's take them one by one. The redistricting plan, the model, was it completely partisan? Was it done the right way? I mean, grade it.
Well, I would say it was kind of in the CB category. Essentially, it was really difficult to be too partisan because there are not enough Democrats serving in the legislature. So they made some changes that actually created some difficulties for Republicans running against Republicans. But I thought, come on, Republicans, why twice in a row in the last 20 years? First, they redistricted Ryan Taylor out. Now they've redistricted Joan Heitkamp out to Democrat leaders. But in many ways, we kept it to 47 districts, which was proper. We did keep a number of county lines in place, but there are some problems with some of the details.
It appeared, were you okay with the sub-districts, Senator Mathern?
Yeah, I was okay with the sub-districts. In fact, not only was I okay with the 2 sub-districts created, I would do it throughout the state. I think we have a need to get closer to our citizens, and sub-districts help citizens more easily know who their legislator is.
So that was interesting because to me, I'm not against the sub-districts, Tim, as much as if we're going to have sub-districts, then let's have sub-districts. Was that debate held at all?
Yeah, we did. When the folks who were opposed to sub-districts because of the Native American areas, they proposed, well, if it's good for 2, let's do it for everybody. So there was that discussion, but that was more a matter of kind of pushback versus progressive thinking. And so there was a debate, and sub-districts for all districts was defeated. But we proceeded with sub-districts in the Turtle Mountain area and Fort Berthold area, and those Native American populations and leaders wanted that. And I think out of respect and out of a growing working relationship with the tribes, it makes sense that we did that.
Was there any question on that, Senator Mathern, whether or not that would stand up constitutionally, that certain segments are being treated, special, so to speak?
Yeah, there was a lot of debate that the courts are going to be weighing in on this, and I suspect will. And it's court action on both sides. Some people saying, and some court case law suggesting that this should be done in order to make sure minority groups have an opportunity to have a voice in government. And then there are other views in case law and in court rulings that you shouldn't treat one differently than another. So this will be playing out in the courts. I think in the meantime, we get to work and get these new districts organized and let the courts rule accordingly. We have 3 branches of government. Legislative, it's got to do its work. The executive, it's got to do its work, and the judicial. So let's just make it work.
So, Senator Mathern, before I move off of the redistricting, it appeared that the power of the majority to redistrict they brought out upon themselves as well. I know down in my country, that the three Republicans that represented my area weren't the most popular three Republicans, and they took the district away. They redistricted them out of the legislature. Did that happen elsewhere, and was that the motivation?
Well, I would say it did happen elsewhere. I think it happened out between Emmons County and Burleigh County with Representative Magrum. And I think in the central part of the state it happened. So I think that was not only the case in Richland County, but it was the case in other areas of the state. And that, too, has created a lot of contention. But now the contention is more within the Republican Party than it is between the Republicans and the Democrats.
Okay. So the federal government sent over $1 billion for the legislature in North Dakota to appropriate and to put to work. So you've got $1 billion going in. Give me the good, the bad, the ugly on where that money went.
Well, first of all, the ugly. The ugly is sitting in the bank, growing mold. This was already passed by the Congress in March. It should have been spent earlier. And as everybody knows, prices are going up. So every day we did not spend that money, we lost money in inflation. So it was my view that we should have done this already back in April. And so that was the negative part, that we took so long to get around to doing this. The positive part was that we got the money spent, but basically left $62 million on the table, did not spend. And all of that money was really to kickstart the economy. And so any money not spent is really a loss to our future possibilities for that money. Another thing that I felt was it really, in the total package, was kind of serving the status quo. I mean, we did things that we would normally do when we have money. There wasn't anything particularly creative here in terms of actually changing our economy for the future. And I think that's what's important. And so I'm thinking, for example, we didn't create a child care structure that's really sustainable. So it's going to be hard to build up the workforce. We didn't create a family leave system, which is comparable to Northern European countries. And those are the kinds of things that will affect our workforce. Our economy is flat without new people, and that really was not addressed.
Senator, I want to talk about some of those policy issues that came up and where you stood, where your caucus stood, and where others stood when it came to some of what Representative Casper and others brought into it. But can you hang on with me, Senator Mathern?
Glad to do that.
North Dakota. 4-6, Senator Tim Mathern from Fargo was good enough to hang with us. He represents District 11 in the North Dakota State Legislature. Senator Mathern, I kept saying leading into the special session that you had to appropriate the money, you had to redistrict, but of course some people took it as an opportunity to set policy. How did that sit with you? Because some of the things that they did went so below the radar in terms of people being able to come and testify. I mean, this was a big red flag for me. Senator Mathern? I think we might have lost Senator Mathern. Abby will hook back up with him. But the one thing that's absolutely crystal clear was that they took it, and of course the majority has the power. They can do all of that. But they used it as an opportunity to create policy. And I that was a big red flag because, organizations and others being able to organize and come in and testify is really how the system's supposed to work. I'm going to check with Senator Mathern and see if I've got him now. Senator Mathern?
Yes, I'm on.
Okay.
And one of the challenges we have when we have a special session is making the machinery work. And the machinery of not only us making decisions and doing conference committees, but also getting the citizens involved. So we had two big issues, the vaccine mandates, the vaccine masking issue, and then the critical race theory issue. Two bills that were passed that I think did not meet the criteria of really a good democratic process, nor the criteria of simplification for the citizens. Right now, we have federal law, we have executive orders from the president, we have court cases, and now we have this state law regarding vaccines. It's confusing to businesses. It's confusing to citizens. I wish we had not passed that law.
I want to go into the critical race theory. Senator Casper, by his own, or Representative Casper, by his own admission, didn't really know what it was. And basically his argument for passing legislation was that we know it's not being taught in schools. And I've got people calling me who don't know what it is, but they don't like it. I mean, how do you legislate based upon that?
Well, that's a major problem. We have, in the final moments, even put on an amendment about how this is done in universities. And teachers themselves didn't get enough place on the agenda to help people understand what this was, or to help people understand that they are involved in the best interest of children and our society. So critical race theory is literally a theory, which means people have ideas. It's not a fact. And I think the most negative part about passing a bill is we're sort of controlling the thoughts of thoughtful people. We are putting schools and the Department of Public Instruction in a situation of now drawing up rules and regulations and processes that basically say, let's not talk about certain things. It's the situation when the political system thought that the world was flat, and it was only proper to teach that it was flat and not proper to teach that it might be round. And so we're in that situation now in critical race theory. It's a bad bill. Wish it wouldn't have passed, and I hope we figure out how to eliminate it going forward.
Senator Mathern, what scared me the most was when people like Representative Casper, when Jim Casper, who had gotten in trouble with some racial remarks on his Facebook page, then came out and explained, or his explanation was he was hacked, even though there wasn't any evidence for it. I mean, when he gets to determine what a curriculum is, it seems to me that that's dangerous road for the governor to support and go down. But thanks for all your work. Thanks for your efforts, and thanks for being there, Senator Mathern.
Joel, I just wanted to say, I noticed you had a lot of rural sponsor to your program. A lot of really positive things happen for rural North Dakota, whether it's the roads and bridges, whether it's the ethanol industry issues, whether it's the extension capital projects. So really positive things happen there. And I thank you for spreading the word and making this democracy work.
You bet. Thank you, Senator Mathern. Folks, he's one of the good ones. Flat out has the respect from all sides of the aisle. When we come back, let's get your take on it. Also, Kyle Rittenhouse. We're going to visit about that when we come back. get back to work. 237-5948, 1-800-880-5346. A new twist here on the News and Views Radio Network. You can now watch us on YouTube live. Abby, explain it to people.
Yeah, we
No,
are.
explain why we're doing this.
Oh,
No.
because people want to see you.
And
You have a face for radio.
I was just giving you the shot. I was giving you the shot to get it off your chest. Do you feel better now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. That's a good way. It's a good way to start the Monday.
If I, with the TV show that I do now, if I had the opportunity to collect $20 from everybody who says you have a face made for radio, I'd be a rich man. I'd be able to retire.
$5 maybe.
We're gonna have that kind of week, you and I.
Well, we're almost done.
Well, let me turn that camera towards you and see how much you like it. You think you're gonna like this? No.
I joined radio for a reason.
Believe me, they wouldn't have a problem with you as much as they're gonna have a problem with me. It's just gonna be a new format, folks, and
on YouTube.
We had go to YouTube, check it out. We had and go to KFGO.com, the home base, and there'll be a link there that you can click on. And a lot of times I realize it's going to be about guests and being able to see some of the guests and see what they look like, see who they are. With the troopers earlier today, we were able to do that. And, we got some response from people on that. And somebody asked whether or not Sue's picking out my clothes. Does that mean I'm dressed good today?
Yeah. They're surprised by how well you dress.
Hey, get this. She bought me this, right?
And it's Carhartt.
Well, but Carhartt here's the thing about Carhartt. That was working, right? I mean, when you bought Carhartt, you bought them to work in. You
Carhartt's
didn't care
like a cool thing now.
Why? How did it get to there?
I don't know, but my sister-in-law she bought a Carhartt hat basically just for like the brand and for the looks.
In so many ways, that's wrong. And if I'm Carhartt, I've given up the heart and soul of who I am. It's supposed to be about work bibs and work jackets and work gloves and work hats. And
my friend has a cute Carhartt sweatshirt.
See?
It's pink.
See, when Sue bought this, I had Carhartt label on it.
Okay, well then they shouldn't make pink sweatshirts if it's only for work.
Well, my point is this. When she came home with this, I'm like, well, it's a work deal.
Oh, because it's a quarter zip?
Oh. But it's a work deal,
You
right?
assume,
it's a work.
Yeah, because it has the Carhartt label, you assumed it's a work thing.
Well, right. And she goes, no, that's the style. That's cool now.
It is cool. And it's a nice quarter zip.
She is weeks away from being 60 years old herself.
Ooh.
How does she know what cool is?
Sue is so cool.
She's almost 60. At 60, you no longer even have a shot at being cool. You no longer have one. I'm just saying.
Do you think you and Sue were cool parents in your kids and their friends' eyes?
Oh, absolutely.
Are you just saying that because
No.
it's because you're Joel, or do you actually think so?
No, the kids like coming out to our house, hanging out to our house.
Same with my parents.
I coached girls softball for years, coached Little League or Babe Ruth baseball for years. And so it's amazing because now the kids, my grandkids, are playing basketball this weekend, the game that I went to see with one of the pitchers off my Babe Ruth team. And that makes you feel really old.
Yeah.
And Dusty was one of the best Babe Ruth pitchers I ever saw. He had a curveball that could make you duck out of the batter's box. He was a good pitcher. He was. So just the whole line. When his dad played, I was bat boy for the team. Then I played. Then I coached Dusty.
Endeavor.
Now Dusty's kids playing basketball with my grandkids. So it's.
But neither of you are coaching.
Somebody texted in and said, "I'm 63 and I hope I'm cool."
I bet you are.
I bet that person is. Somebody said you're absolutely right about Carhartt. The only problem is there isn't anybody working anymore. Very few, so they have to sell it to people who just walk around in style mode. It's a sad world we live in. Too much free money out there. Nobody working anymore. That might be true. I mean,
I don't think people are working as much of like the hands-on Carhartt type jobs because I think things have just gotten more automated that maybe those people aren't needed.
But the Carhartt workers are who we're short right now.
That's true.
Those guys and gals.
That's true.
The ones that are going to put on the bibbies, the ones that are going to use that because they got to crawl around their fish house and find out why it's all locked down. They've got to. That's who you need. And
so not my sister-in-law in the Carhartt beanie.
No, not this. I mean, I'll wear it because she bought it.
Yeah.
And I'll wear it because here's the thing. She, if I go buy clothes like this, now that Strauss is closed, Strauss was the key. You know, I'd walk in and talk to John or Lester Stern, and I'd say, I've got $300 in my pocket. Give me clothes. And they'd go about, all right, get one of those, two of those. Yep.
Where was Strauss?
It was right on 13th Avenue here. But I'd go home, and Sue would look at it and go, hey, good shopping, right? Once that closed, I was pooched.
Yeah.
And so I'd sit there and I'd take all of that whatever when I knew I needed to buy some clothes, and I would take that, and I had nowhere to go that I could trust to just say.
Yeah.
So then I'd started buying on my own.
How has that gone?
They took a lot of it back. Susan did. She would look at it and say, all right, yeah, that was good. She'd say words like, it's good you tried.
Yeah. I think you bought a quarter zip on your own. It's white. You bought it you were away from KFGO doing a remote show, and you bought that white quarter zip, the one that you spilled all the ink on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
That one looks good, and I think you bought that on your own.
I bought that because it was bought from Ty's Lounge up in Devil's Lake at Woodland Resort. And so I liked it, you know, and I saw it, and they were good enough to sell it to me, and I bought it, and I took it home, and I wrecked it right away, which means I should call Woodland Resort and get one.
Or you just can't get white shirts.
Yeah.
You're too prone to spilling.
But you and Joan John from our office here got it out.
That was a process. But yeah, we got the ink out of your sweater. It got a lot worse before it got better.
Somebody said maybe it's that Carhartt is priced out of Carhartt job wages. You know what the key to good Carhartt working clothes is? Is don't buy them again.
You only have to buy it once.
If you buy bibs, like I have a great pair of Carhartt bibs that you wear out in the wintertime.
Yep.
If you're the one that looks like you have holes in them, that's good. That means you've been working. That's a good thing, right?
Well, and they're expensive for the reason of their quality, and you shouldn't need to buy another pair for 10 years.
Well, but my point is every now and then you're going to have to just give up. When I was working Rural Water, I went through one pair of them, but
yeah.
This person says my 11-year-old granddaughter wants Carhartt for Christmas.
Yep.
Somebody said Halberstadt's at West Acres here in Fargo is a good replacement to Strauss.
They're very like suits. Halberstadt's is suits.
Somebody says it sounds like Sue gave you a participation ribbon in shopping.
You tried, yeah.
I did. I tried that one time. Remember?
Yeah.
That was huge. And my son-in-law bought me shoes. And I come home with these shoes. And
He bought you a lot of shoes.
I know.
He gave you options.
Two pair have to go back.
Yeah.
Right. And we still haven't done that yet. But
what do you mean we?
My son-in-law and I.
Okay.
No, I mean, I don't even know where the heck they go. Anyway, I go home with these shoes, right? And so, here's the ethical question. Sue goes, wow, those are really cool shoes. And, you know, and I'm like, yes, they are, dear. Yes, they are. Then I finally came clean. All right, I want to talk about Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle Rittenhouse was that 17-year-old that grabbed the AR, crossed the state line. His mother took him to where there was a Black Lives Matter rally going on that got violent, and like some of those did. And Kyle chose upon himself to become the policeman at the event and ended up shooting, was it 3 people, Abby? Killing... But
2 or 3.
Yeah. I don't know. Did he kill somebody or did he wound them all? All I know is he started shooting. And some of the individuals that he shot were individuals that weren't armed. Okay. So here's this 17-year-old man boy, I should say, that his mother saw this as a great opportunity for him, drove him to the rally with an AR, and he basically has self-appointed himself as a law enforcement officer. Or that white individual that's going to stop the black individuals from what he saw as being the problem. Now, here's the really big issue to me. I want you to ask yourself this, and I want you to just be honest. Just take a step back and ask yourself, what the circumstances would be. If you took a young black man, now I'm serious, you're going to go, oh, there he goes playing the race card. No, if you took a young black man, you put an AR in his hands, you illegally crossed the state line, you dropped him off, and he shot people. He killed 2 people, and he tried to kill a third. He injured a third. If you did that, what do you think would happen to that young black man? Do you think we'd be sitting here watching a trial where this old whack judge would be basically defending this murderer from the stands? I mean, you cannot convince me. You certainly wouldn't want me on the jury. You cannot convince me that he isn't a murderer, that he didn't go there with the intent to shoot that gun. He did. He went there with the intent to shoot that gun. He thought it'd be cool. He thought that in that group that he lived in, he could be the one, right? He could be the one, go back, brag to people about, look what I did. Yep. That young man is a racist. That young man is a murderer. And if he was a black man who did that to white people, this wouldn't even be a question. This wouldn't even be a question over whether or not that judge would act the way he did or whether or not that individual would be convicted. Now we're sitting here talking about reduced sentences, reduced levels of crime. He killed 2 people. He went looking for trouble. And so how in the world can you not see that? That was preemptive, that he went there with an AR as though he now was a law enforcement officer. He was going to keep the peace. Wasn't trained, wasn't licensed, didn't have a badge. And he starts shooting people. Think about that. I mean, think about that. That is how ridiculous it's gotten. That is how utterly ridiculous it's gotten. And do not be surprised, ladies and gentlemen, when this kid gets off. Don't be surprised one bit. Or when the sentence is reduced so much that it's a joke. And wait for it. Wait for what the response is going to be afterwards. And then you're going to say, well, there's those people again. There's those people. They're protesting. Yeah. Well, you know what? Rittenhouse went there looking for a fight. He found a fight and he shot some people. And he should be held accountable for it. 237-5948, 1-800-880-5346. Let's get to the weather cave and find Too Tall Tom. Tom? Somebody said, isn't the mask, I got to start in the beginning, to the mask mandate as a consumer, excuse me, or an employee, don't I have the right to know what they are doing as much as they can to protect this? Also, isn't the mandate is only making sure that the employer has a plan, vaccinated or intervenal, I think they said internal, but I didn't read that wrong, testing. Another one. What mother would even allow her 17-year-old son to go, let alone take him herself with a gun? They both need to be convicted. Somebody said, Joel, you're spot on. Rittenhouse is a murderer. Should be found guilty, but might get off. Sad if he does. Joel, the people he defended himself against were white people. White people. Better do some fact-checking. That isn't my point. It was a Black Lives Matter rally. That was my point. Somebody said, Kyle said the owner of a gun dealership asked him to protect his property. Did the dealer owner say at the trial that he did call Kyle? That makes it okay? I mean, so the car dealer says, Kyle, grab an AR and come here at 17 years old. All that means is I've got more charges than just the murder charge. That's what that means to me. Let's get to Joe. Joe, you're on News and Views. Go ahead.
Good morning, Joel. Okay, I'm old enough to be your mama, so please don't cut me off and let me just say what I need to say, okay?
I wouldn't cut my mother off, so go ahead, Joe.
Well, thank you very much. I was a single mom. I'm now 70, but I raised 3 boys by myself, and when they turned 17, they're in their 50s and late 40s now. When they turned 17, there was a day I woke up and I said, oh, my God, who are you? And it happened with my oldest, my middle, and my youngest. And for a year or two, they were just, my pediatrician summed it up as saying, 17 is the new 2, but they can talk better. They were 17.
I got 30 seconds, Joe. 30 seconds.
Okay. I talked with other moms, too, and at the age of 17, young men are striking out, and testosterone is running faster than their brains are working. So I'm not defending Kyle, but 17 is an age where all hell breaks loose.
Joe, you didn't drive him there, though, right? Call back tomorrow. I'd love to have this conversation tomorrow. All right, good riding with you, folks.